last time we saw each other in person, you were mentioning a topic that is near and dear to my heart. I've got a whole chapter on it in a book I'm working on. You were applying it in a slightly different way that I was intrigued by. And you had talked about you're involved in a lot of things, first of all, and you're going through and saying, what can I delegate out? What do I have to do versus what can others do?
Yep.
And I was curious as to what triggered that moment, or what was the tipping point saying, I can't do everything myself, or wait a minute, I don't need to do everything myself.
I think there was an epiphany because, look, so you hear about it all the time, right? If you're in enough networking groups or do enough one-to-ones with people where you constantly talk about, how busy you are and things you're trying to do to have good work-life balance, and delegating always comes up. And I think I got to a point where I said, look, like I have a lot of interest, a lot of things I want to do. I don't always want to feel as if I have to be the one starting the first drafts of things or being mired in the production of deliverables for clients. So that there must be a way where I can start delegating some of those things to other people. So that way I'm a little more further along in the production process, and then I can focus more of my time on the quality control, the client management, the business development, and also being able to have more time for my interests, right? And so I just started to just think through like my steps at each day in terms of, okay, what am I doing where I can delegate this task, right? And so I just started small. I didn't initially have a plan, quite frankly. I just said I have to start delegating things, so let's just start, being more mindful of my day to day and seeing where I can delegate. And so, an easy one was scheduling, right? That was an easy one. Okay, I have to start either being more meticulous about using technology for that, or having someone do the scheduling, right? And so I found another assistant to help me with scheduling and other side projects, but that was the idea, right? And then with the client work, I started thinking about, okay, well, what are the things that I'm doing that just eat up time, right? And one place I really found that was just a time eater was setting up our project management software for clients, right? And I said, look, this can be done by someone else, right? This is enormous time eater. Someone else can do this. Like obviously I'm always in there, so if I see something wrong, I can fix it, right? But it's funny how your mind finds more time for things when you don't have to always be the one starting it, right? I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I'm trying to think of a good example, right? Like if you're cooking, right, and someone has already prepared everything, right? Suddenly you have a lot more time. Your mind just thinks differently about that task, right? Because you didn't have to prep the meat, cut the vegetables, consider the seasoning, and everything's put out there for you, right? And you can just step in the kitchen and just sort of, follow the recipe, right? It's amazing how your mind.
I gotta stop you right there. You just hit on the whole reason why I don't like to cook.
Right.
I am trying to convince my 10-year-old to be a sous chef so that he can prep everything and I will cook more. And I can start to see just from that example, you look at painting. I love to paint. I don't like prepping it. I don't like laying the plastic down, all of the blue tape. Just don't let me do that 2-hour thing. Just let me come in for 30 minutes and do the roller thing. I'll do the paint cans. It's easy to see that with your example and how you can apply that to your work. Yeah. Now, understanding that your work isn't the same thing day in and day out, give me an overview of the variety of things that you're involved in, because it's not just clients. You've got boards and networking and
yeah. I mean, outside of my core, the thing that makes me money every day, I'm on a number of boards, two of which I'm the board president, you know, and I have, you know, there are at least two networking groups that take up most of my time when it comes to my business development and just sort of my calendar, right? And that's Provisors and BNI, and and not to mention, the stuff we want to do outside of anything professional or summer professional, right? With I have a wife, have friends that I care deeply about, my family, my broader family. So, you have to find time for that stuff, right? Um, and I definitely get to a place where, even with like my board activities, I've even there, I'll start to delegate. I'm like, there's just certain things I shouldn't have to do as board president, right? And empowering other board members to do certain things, right? Or to take on projects, right? So it doesn't always fall on me to do it. Or talking to the staff and saying, okay, well, I think the staff should handle this moving forward, and I just review the agenda. I don't have to create it, right? So my advice to everyone, particularly if you're juggling different things or you're in leadership, is that you don't always have to take on everything. You can delegate. There are things that people can do, right? Maybe in the beginning you have to train people, or you have to allow for some room for mistakes or learning. But eventually people will get there, right? You just have to, I think for some people, they just dread that process, right? Because it can be not easy. Sometimes it takes time for someone to do something right or do it the way you want to do it, right? And also just the worry of giving up control, right? Which is particularly for entrepreneurs is very a very real concern, a very real fear, right? Of giving up control, but you have to get past that, because I'm starting to learn, like, as I get older, that there's just more to life than just your work. And it doesn't mean that I care about my work any less. I just want to be able to focus on the things I really want to focus on, and not feel like I'm mired every day in like the small nitty gritty stuff, right? That's not a way to, build a business over time.
I often hear, and you're one of those yes, but what things that we all like to do is, but I'm the only one who knows how to do this. I'm the best person to do this. And sometimes we value ourselves in the things that we do. I created this. I don't see how it's so complicated. I don't see how I could possibly teach this to someone else. Having been through that myself, and I am the best at overcomplicating something. How do you address those types of situations?
I think it's very rare that you'll find somebody who does those things exactly how you do it, right? It's very rare. If you find that, great for you, right? But very rare. People always may have their own spin on things, right? Which, I think sometimes that's good, right? Because you might learn something from that person, and that might make you rethink the way you've done something, right? Wow, I didn't consider this before. Different ways of thinking and different, levels of intellect, right? But the other thing is, and you find this a lot when someone's trying to retire. Let's say want to sell their business, or they want to, move on, right? And they've created this thing that no one can quite understand. So the business itself becomes very hard to sell, or for the owner, the creator, to leave, right? And that's not a place you want to be in either, right? There has to be a balance between creating something that speaks to you, as a creator, but also is something that's scalable or can be taught to someone else, right? And certainly if it's something that is hard to do, that could happen. You better have a plan to get it on paper somehow, or find a way to make it so that you can teach someone. Because as much as we like to think that we are invincible, and that we're not replaceable, the sobering reality is that we are, like, as I always tell my staff, about like anytime I see that my staff is becoming loose about copying people on emails or doing reply alls, I'm like, hey, like, if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, you need to know what that last conversation was, right? And vice versa. Like, no one, I'm knocking wood, is, is, you know, exempted from something bad happening to you or something unfortunate happening, right? And people have to be prepared for that. And I don't like, I try to make it like not a heavy topic, but it's true. You just have to have that sober, you have to have that conversation with yourself to know that, look, tomorrow I can slip and fall and be out for a week. What then?
I like that, looking at putting that spin on it. You said, looking at it from a positive perspective as to you wanted to do other things. We just talked about all of the travel that you have going on,
Right.
all of the time that you're able to spend with friends, and that's time that you were able to free up to
Yeah.
do something positive. And it's an honest conversation that we have with ourselves. Someone once said, I'm not ready to retire because I'd be retiring from something and not to something. So
Mm,
sometimes in order to let go of something, we need to be going towards something rather
yeah.
than just standing still looking at, those are all the things I let go. I'm not needed anymore.
Yeah.
So sometimes the starting point is, what do I want to go to? What do I want to free myself up for and create that future state?
Yeah.
And then it's more exciting to let go of and find those repetitive things. And I love that. I've never actually heard someone say that I went and just started putting down my tasks during the day
Yeah.
and decided on, where's my value in this process? We write down the tasks and we say, who can I turn this task over to versus how can I break this up
Yeah.
into value segments? And where is my value in it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, it, you know, I'm getting to a place in life where I find that my brain is the most valuable thing. Like the knowledge that, like, if a client calls with a problem, my value increasingly is my ability to be free enough to have that conversation with that client and impart my knowledge to them, right? And use my brain that way. That's what I'm want to get to, right? Or that I care deeply about, being part of my community and being part of boards and working on projects. And so, how do I create the time to do that, right? So that I don't feel like I'm taking away from something to do that, or vice versa, right? And we all have to make those value judgments, for ourselves. And it's not hard, it's not easy, right? There's always gonna be some push and pull, right? But you want to get to a place where there's less of that, right? That for the most part things can fit, right? And and my gamble is that if I do this now, in the long run, it would all work out, right? That's the gamble, so I'm betting on myself in a way, right? And I think we'll have to do that at some points where you have to better yourself and say, okay, I'm going to figure this out, and what's the end game? The end game is I want more time. I want, to really feel that the time I do put into my business is valuable time, not just filler time, that like the clients or people I'm serving and getting maximum value from me and the systems I've set up, so that way we can do good work, right? You have to better yourself to be able to make that happen.
I love you hit on the value that you are to the business, and the value of what you're doing changes over time.
Yes,
Because
yes,
your value in doing all of those things to begin with was important, but it
yeah,
isn't important anymore. As you're growing your business, your value has changed.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's
and
awesome.
yeah, and and like not getting any younger, like,
You're really not that old.
I know, but no, but the thing is, like, I look at some of my colleagues who are older, right? And I'm seeing that some of them have created this great life for themselves where they're still working and they're making really good money, but they are able to do different things, right? And there is no worry about is this getting done or is that getting done, right? They're like, yep, my staff got it. I can go to this conference and really be in the conference, right? Be present, and see old friends and, be on a panel, go out to dinner and not be locked in my room having to like, do work, right? Because there's no one else to do it or I didn't delegate it in time, right? And that's where I want to be at, like I have a very complicated um notion about retirement which I'm just not sure if I ever want to retire, but I certainly want to be in a place where I have to like whatever business I have at that point is relying on me heavily, right? I don't want to be there either, you know so I'm trying to build toward that future.
You've hit on what so many are looking at now is our notion and our definition of retirement has
Yeah,
changed.
yeah.
It really is not the 30 years, the gold watch, and then
Right.
and then I'm not actively earning an income anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And for me it's not really income, it's I don't know, for me it's like just being out of the action, and just not, I just love what I do so much, and I just love to be needed. Um,
yep,
and and that what I offer is I just and maybe that changes over time. I don't know, but I just know me. I just know that I just always love to be of service to people, and I just couldn't imagine a world where I'm just out, in some retirement community, just sort of, you know, not like being like part of the action. Yeah,
yep.
I could.
I'll never forget when my dad finished his first retirement and he said, "This is not what I expected. I don't feel like I'm needed anymore. And if I'm not needed anymore, then I have no value left to give the world.
Mm,
And in order to be alive, I have to give back and I have to have some value in this world. And
yeah,
I need to be needed. And it's that I think that we all as human beings have that need to be needed.
yeah,
I my mother, they just got two puppies. What they're doing, getting two puppies, I don't know. But my mom now feels needed again.
yeah,
Hallelujah. All the kids are coming around. And that's we all find our ways. And I can see that your way is serving others and giving back.
yeah,
And I have no doubt. I love that you're thinking that far ahead in what you're doing now and being so purposeful about doing that. You just amaze me, Edgar, in every way.
thank
Uh,
you.
I, I appreciate you sharing because there's so many of us out there that feel the same way and probably feel like we're the only one who feels this way.
Yeah,
And being able to share your evolution, how you got there and how you addressed it, I think can help others.
yeah, thank you so much.